They both died from smothering. These were his daughters.
Murdered by their father.
He had a desire for a fresh start.
Tonight, Chris Watts faces punishment for killing his family.
Prison is too good for you.
But refuses to say why he did it.
I don't think he will give an honest assessment of why he did what he did.
And tonight, the man who murdered his family will never know life outside of prison again.
Tonight, we do know a lot more about what happened inside that Frederick home back in August. Now, the things we still don't know can only be answered by Chris Watts himself. Today, the DA revealed for the very first time a motive, saying Watts murdered his pregnant wife, Shanann, and their two daughters, Bella and Celeste, because he wanted a fresh start. And we're going to get into that in just a moment. First, though, an autopsy showed the girls were smothered. Their mother, his wife, strangled.
And despite his original claim that Shanann murdered the children, prosecutors were clear today that this was all Chris Watts' doing. Denver 7 has been on this story from the first time we learned a woman and her kids had disappeared from their Weld County home. And we're not stopping now. Jackie Crea begins tonight's team coverage on what has been an emotional day from start to finish. Jackie.
Yeah, and in this sentencing hearing today, both sides of this tragedy spoke to Chris Watts, and as part of his plea deal that will keep him in prison for the rest of his life, he admitted to murdering his entire family.
We will remain faithful as your family, just as God remains faithful because of his unconditional love for us all. We love you, and we forgive you, son.
A mother's love strong as ever for her son, a man accused of murdering his entire family, children and wife. Forgiveness and faith in God is where both families seem to find their strength. They spoke to Chris Watts during his sentencing hearing.
We begged the district attorney to spare your life because despite everything, we believe that no one has the right to take the life of another.
The Weld County DA, Michael Rourke, revealed what happened that early morning on August 13th after Shanann returned home from a work trip. A heated discussion about their marriage.
Shanann put a crown on your head, but unfortunately, the day that you took their life, God removed that crown.
Followed by Chris strangling his wife, not out of rage, but methodical planning, according to O'Rourke.
The horror that she felt as the man that she loved wrapped his hands around her throat and choked the life out of her must have been unimaginable.
Next, he smothered his daughters to death and tried to cover it all up, getting rid of their bodies in a shallow grave and crude oil tanks on Anadarko property, where he would go back to work.
They all described him as acting completely normally. It was a normal workday, even while his daughters sank in the oil and water not far away from him.
Pleading on Denver 7 for their safe return, calling the girls' school to unenroll them, planning to sell the house, and texts to his mistress about their future.
None of this answers the questions of why, however. If he was this happy and wanted a new start, get a divorce. You don't annihilate your family and throw them away like garbage.
Thanked Shanann's family for allowing him to serve his sentence in dignity, with dignity. They hope one day he will fully confess so that the families can have some kind of closure. And my colleague Jennifer Kovaleski sat down with the DA. And Jen, this case was shocking for us, and it only consumed